Film Club.
Thank you for joining us for a Christmassy episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison, and with me, as always, it's Andy Donaldson.
Hello.
Every week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us, and this week it's time to take a look at The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Jack Skellington is the revered leader of Halloween Town, and he's tired, he yearns for adventure, he wants to change his ways, he's sick of the horror element. So he goes on a little adventure, he finds Christmas and brings it back to Halloween, and he kind of makes it in his own image, and chaos ensues. This is directed by Henry Selick, based off a story from Tim Burton, and it's really interesting to revisit it, or at least like maybe see it for the first time and kind of come back to where it all started. It's not my favourite film, but I really appreciate the technical prowess of it.
I completely agree with that. So when The Nightmare Before Christmas came out, it sort of became this like massive cultural hotspot. Like a lot of people are really, really into Nightmare Before Christmas. And I think I can sort of understand it. A lot of that comes from its like aesthetic value. Like it has so much creativity going on in the design, all the creatures and monsters and all stop motion animation puppets and stuff. And we've talked in the past about stop motion animation and how just impressive it is. Like stop motion animation, when we talked about Kubo and the Two Strings, and we also talked about Wallace and Gromit when we were looking at Chicken Run. It's a really, really impressive art form. And I think here it's done about as well as it can be. There isn't a moment where I stop watching this and I go like, "Oh, that's really impressive for stop motion animation." I just find it to be a really impressive, creative production that completely sells me on like the design of the film. I think it's really easy to get lost in it.
I agree. There's some interesting animation used that really helps achieve the difference in stop motion animation. Like Jack Skellington is walking and he has those kind of spidery legs that's jittery. It's emphasised by the stop motion animation. You could the wonderful mayor who's got two faces remind me of the guy of Lego, Liam Neeson. And it was really cool to see these kind of elements pull through, but stop motion make it work more. Like a really cool example is look at the graveyard floor and look how it's like had a comb go over it. It's plastered, it's had a comb go over it, but it really suits the environment and the atmosphere that they're going for. And it's just a testament to the team that built this. And I learned a lot actually upon like researching this in prep for this, and just about how it came to be. And I didn't realise that originally Disney didn't want to do this with Tim Burton, and it took him a while to actually come back and work with Henry Selick. I think Tim Burton was working on a project at the time, and it's brilliant to see everything kind of come together and produce this technically incredible film.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. So just in case anybody's not sure, obviously the film gets credited and marketed as Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, which often has led people over recent years to believe that Tim Burton directed the film. And I think that's a little bit sad because although the original poem was written by Tim Burton, that's the poem that this film is based on. And I think that a lot of the aesthetic design is Burton-esque, but he wasn't really that involved in the production of it. It's Henry Selick that is the director of this film. It's Henry Selick's voice here that people have really been celebrating over the years. So it's almost a shame that he got drowned out a little bit. Tim Burton sort of famously stepped away from this a little bit in terms of the production of it because he didn't want to deal with the headache that was stop motion animation. He wanted to just hand that off to Henry Selick.
And testament to him, because what he's produced is just incredible. Because it's not the longest film in the world, but to do 70 odd minutes of stop motion animation takes a long time. For perspective, Chicken Run took 5 years to make. And you can see a lot of the style and that kind of semi-gothic but very quirky essence in Coraline. I think Coraline is a really great example of what Henry Selick is, and a lot of the influence it has from this. And it's really interesting to see his path go down. Again, James and the Giant Peach being another one.
Yeah, I think that partly the reason that people often sort of like tie Tim Burton to this so closely is, he is, I don't want to take away from him, he is tied so closely to it, but it's also the inclusion of Danny Elfman. Obviously at the time, Danny Elfman had been scoring the Burton films, he'd been scoring the Batman films. So the fact that over here, not only is Danny Elfman again doing like a lot of the music for this, but he's also voicing Jack Skellington when he's singing.
Which I didn't even know Danny Elfman sung. So I thought, Danny Elfman, big composer, big composer. And when I found out he did the vocals, I was like, holy shit. And then when I watched it, I was like, holy shit, he's really, really good. And it's interesting that they actually got Chris Sarandon to do the speaking voice of Jack just because he sounded quite similar to Danny Elfman's singing voice. You know, fair play to them for like doing two different voice actors, but Danny Elfman absolutely hammers this. The music is brilliant. The ability to harmonize that with with the creatures playing the saxophone, the trombone, and everything. To be able to make what is essentially a 70-minute score, to incorporate the musical jingles that go alongside the vocals, and also produce your own voice alongside that, it is absolutely spectacular.
It definitely is. And I don't think that Nightmare Before Christmas would have been as successful as it was without Danny Elfman's involvement. I don't think anywhere near. The fact that the song What's This occurs so early in the film is key to the success of this. The absolute overwhelming creativity that is available in the visual aesthetic, but also the overwhelming creativity that's presented to you in the audio aesthetic through that song and a couple of the others is absolutely brilliant. I actually think that some of the songs in this are hit and miss. I think that some of them are absolutely astounding. Like, What's This? And the three kids talking about killing Santa Claus. Like, those are brilliant songs. But I think that for every time you get one of those, you get something that's a bit more middling, and you get something that the moment it finishes, you never think about it again.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. But then again, I wouldn't expect him to produce a masterpiece throughout this film, because even just to have a 60-minute score is stupidly impressive. It's never something that's resonated with me, but my God, I am baffled at how good this was. I don't know if it's something I'd ever watch again, but it's definitely something I'll speak to people and be like, if you want to see Danny Elfman's best film, it's probably this. If you want to see a testament to Henry Selick, watch this.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think part of what makes it so interesting is that it feels like it comes out of nowhere. There's a bit of me that when I start watching this film, I feel like I'm watching a Christmas episode of a series of something, because the world feels so well realized. The characters feel like they've been on other adventures and they've already got relationships that are going on. Like, they don't really explain to you why Oogie Boogie is this guy that's kept down, like, you know, in a special part of the town, and he's not really accepted by the rest of the town. But you don't need that explaining to you. They trust that you as an audience just get the relevant information. This feels like a story in the long lives of Jack Skellington. I think that that's the best thing about it.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I do want to mention before we wrap this up, Nightmare Before Christmas had a huge influence on one of my favorite pieces of media across any format, in the form of Medieval on the PS1.
Oh, good shout. Good shout.
Yeah, this is absolutely the source of inspiration for that game. And I think that all of the joy that Nightmare Before Christmas brings to sort of having fun with spooky, scary stuff without trying to literally be spooky and scary, Medieval takes that and also runs with it. You know, a lot of its design elements are drawing a like-to-like from Dan over to Jack Skellington. And the mayor in both of them is borderline the exact same flipping character.
Yeah. But Medieval's a fantastic game, so good shout.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Just, you know, not very appropriate for Christmas. But there is the Nightmare Before Christmas. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of Nightmare Before Christmas. Or you can also let us know what you thought of Medieval as well, because we're more than happy to talk about that. But Andy and I are going to be back once again next week with a very special episode, just a little something to get you through the Christmas period. Until then, get watching.
Cheers, guys.